You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, now we're living. Can you feel it in the air that you're breathing? Time to show 'em what you're made of. Let's get back on track. Are you ready for a come on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back.
Hello and welcome back to Super Mega Crash Beyond. I am your host, Stephen White, and on any normal day, I would toss it over to my favorite sister, Lace, for your weekly Happy Monday announcement, but alas, she has chosen to sit this one out today. However, I'm not alone, as listeners of my other podcast, Horror Ramblings, might be very familiar with our guest today. For those who might not know who he is, he has produced and performed in a number of various projects for Troma Entertainment, as well as written and performed a number of catchy tunes for The Last Drive-In on Shudder, and he is a fellow podcaster with his show Yuki and John's Podcast Buffet, where he discusses a variety of topics with the enigma that is the Tokyo Cowboy, Yuki Nakamura, and on occasion their producer Liz Shack. And I'd also recommend getting a copy of his album, No Offense, None Taken, which has several bangers on there, and they are part of my daily music playlist. So please welcome to the Palace of Megapixels, a man who could be mistaken for a CIA officer, if only by name, John Brennan.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Thanks for doing this. We were delayed a little bit because I had a huge tragedy over the summer. My house burnt down. Not to start this podcast on a downer that's supposed to be about a comedy series, but it just delayed us, and I just kept forgetting that we had scheduled it, and I had to move. It literally was like the day. And I just emailed you. I was like, I hope he doesn't think I'm lying. Can't wait till he sees the pictures, then he'll believe me.
No, I was just like in shock. You said your house burned. I was like, what the fuck? I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, it was okay. A fucked up time. And there was just so much going on. And I really regretted not being able to do it because I had rewatched a couple of these because I watched all of them last year except for Mission to Moscow, which we'll talk about because Liz Shack, the producer of Podcast Buffet and my beloved, she hadn't seen them. So when I showed her the first one, she's like, that's really good. That's funny. But she didn't seem blown away. I was like, oh, just wait. There's fucking 6 more of these motherfuckers. 7. I don't even know how many. But you're sitting and watching at least up to 4. I wanted to show her. As the series went on, she started to like them more.
Okay.
Yeah, which is also, I kind of like 2, 3, 4 the best.
Yeah, they do have a rhythm to them that, and I honestly think it was kind of intentional because I think I have heard Jerry Paris was supposed to do a trilogy. He was supposed to direct 2, 3, and 4 back to back to back or something like that, but he passed after 3, and then they had to scramble and pick the new
guy for 4.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
That might be part of the energy you're feeling as it's all there, which does raise a question. Now, we're probably going to bounce all over. We're going to be talking about the gamut of Police Academy, so buckle up, siblings. Because there's a lot to this, and I don't want to lose focus of where I'm at right now because, all right, so yeah, 2, 3, and 4 makes me wonder if Jerry had come back, he brought in Mauser over Harris. Would Mauser have been the guy a third time, or would they have brought Harris back?
That's interesting. I wonder why, because, I love them both. I really do. I really do. And I wonder why they couldn't sort of have both at the same time,
Right. It feels like they would have, that would have been an interesting dichotomy because 2 guys who are always ass kissing or trying to vie for the top, because they really don't have, they have a similar goal, but different ways of going about it. Harris seems more like an ass kisser. Mauser does too, but he's a little bit more conniving.
Yeah. Mauser's more of a son of a bitch
Yeah.
The other one, I mean, they're both sons of bitches, but you're
There's-
right about the ass kissing.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's like Mauser goes to a different level of ass kiss. Harris can do it, but he doesn't. It's like he doesn't want to go that route unless he absolutely has to. But he also he commands like he's above everybody else, you know, because like in 5, we're getting a private plane.
And somehow Proctor just connects to both. He's the barnacle that connects to both of them. He just like always chooses the villain.
And he is such a barnacle. That is the perfect metaphor for him, because he just latches on. And I think I even remember seeing an interview with Lance Kinsey, the guy that plays him, and he said that he always kind of played him as if he wanted to be one of the guys.
Oh, you could see that. Absolutely. Yeah.
But he was always with the asshole. So it was just like this, which way do I go? I got to follow this guy, but I want to hang out with these guys, but he's my boss. So what do I do?
Oh, yeah. And I just love that. It would have been interesting if those two guys had gotten together in the same movie, and then they had a team, like good guy versus team bad guy. Yeah. So that they were like more on equal ground. Because I always felt bad that it was the two of them getting fucked over, sort of. Right. Kind of felt bad. Like the glue to the bullhorn. That's some fucking nasty stuff. That's horrible shit.
Yeah, especially when you think about how long it's going to be stuck there. What you're going to have to do, you're probably going to have to eat through a hose for God knows how long.
And then what was the other one? They put the stuff on that like ruins his hair.
Oh, yeah.
Takes his hair off.
The epoxy resin.
He gets stuck in the hair, and then they had to take his eyebrows off and stuff. Oh, my God. Those are some ruthless pranks. I mean, Mahoney, say what you will about the bad guys being assholes. Mahoney's a piece of shit.
There's a criminal career there waiting for Mahoney. He just got pushed into police work. I mean, the fact that he wasn't already in prison. But I mean, I guess we did get that story. His dad was, I guess, a cop and was buddies with the chief or the one detective. And then that's how he weaseled his way out of it, so to speak.
Yeah. Mahoney's one step away from joining Zed's gang.
Yeah. I mean, really.
It really is.
I mean, surprisingly that he didn't. I guess he's not. I mean, he didn't seem like those guys, but he did. He did. I mean, when you kind of look at him, they don't look like they are cut from the same cloth. But like you mentioned, you take a look at the shit he did.
Some of it's ruthless.
I mean, all right. Start from the first movie. What do we see him do? The very first thing he does, he damages 3 cars, trying to prove a point, trying to park a car.
Yep.
So
I always love in the 80s movies when the cars go on their 2 wheels and then they drive.
Curious. Yeah.
There's like, I guess I don't know if this is how they all did it, but there were special cars that would have like special wheels that would kind of let the wheel. It was almost like not a lever, but like a second wheel that was on the other side of the wheel. Okay. That was helping it along. Mm-hmm. So they were specially built. And it always blew my mind that they would be able to do that sort of stuff. I mean, those stunts, some of the stunts in these movies are insane.
Oh, yeah. This was in the heyday of stunts. I mean, this is when we could do all sorts of fun, amazing, probably very dangerous stuff. Yeah. But that's what makes them so good. I mean, when you really look back on a lot of these movies from these times, I mean, I've been kind of doing a little bit of time travel in my head when I go back and watch some of these old movies here lately. And I just pick up on all that, and I'm like, God damn, man, just the guts they had to do some of that stuff, and just the fact that they did it, because we would not get that today. I mean, hell, I was watching a TV show just yesterday, and maybe it was just the way it was lit, maybe it was just how it was set up, I don't know, but I swear to God, it looked like they were just standing on a sound stage, and there was a projected picture of a cityscape behind them. And I even looked to my wife and I was like, do you see it? Is it me? Because it looks fake. And she's like, no, I kind of see what you mean. So it's fun to go back to these kinds of movies and actually see how it should be done.
Yeah. I mean, they have so many things and as far as stunts. You have people crawling on the side of a hot air balloon. Mm-hmm. Got all sorts of the jet skis. There's all sorts of crazy things that they're doing in these. So they kept some stuntmen in business.
Oh yeah, for at least a good 6-7 years, however many sequels they pumped out there for a while.
That's right. And also these movies always have so many extras and small little character actors that come in and do their little bits that are great. So yeah, and like for instance, I always loved when I was a kid, The Family. They would go and have the dinners and stuff, but they had like 3 movies in a row, maybe 4 movies in a row where they had their scene, a couple of scenes, they'd have their moments, kept them in business, probably fed their kids from the Police Academy movies. They probably still see residuals to this day.
For sure.
And I only wonder, like, the guy, what's the guy who does all the sound effects? Is that his real name?
Michael Winslow.
Michael Winslow. That's this guy's bread and butter. I mean, this guy probably bought a couple of houses on this franchise.
I would imagine I think, was one of only 3 people, if I remember hearing this correctly. He is one of 3 who actually was in every single movie. And
he was in all of them.
All of them.
Wow. And I think he was on the TV show too.
And he was the only other person, yes, to be on the TV. So Michael Winslow is Police Academy.
He is Police Academy.
Yeah.
What a great, and I remember seeing, I was blown away when I was a kid. I started watching Cheech and Chong right around 13, 14. He's in one of them and he does the Jimi Hendrix bit and all that stuff. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I had never seen this guy in another movie except Spaceballs.
Yeah. I love the Jimi Hendrix bit. I don't know what it is that he's doing, but it's just.
It sounds so good.
Yeah.
It sounds so good. And he sounds like him when he sings, and then he's got the however he does the.
Yeah, I would sit there for same time frame, I guess, is 90, I think is when that movie came out, 89, 90, kind of the pass into the 80s. Yeah, Mission to Moscow was like the only 90s Police Academy movie, and there's not been one since.
Oh my God.
I feel like we're going to have to approach and talk about it at some point because we dived headfirst into this topic. I hope our siblings are hanging on for dear life because they're probably like, holy shit.
Yeah, we didn't do this in it because you know what? The movies are haphazard and they're all over the place. So how could you really talk about these movies in a linear way?
Right. So, I mean, in a nutshell, if you have never seen Police Academy, if you have no fucking clue what we're talking about, which is very possible because I have to remind myself, I grew up on this.
Right.
You grew up on this.
Yeah.
It was there. There's a whole generation this shit wasn't there for. So.
All right. So maybe, if you know the groundwork, lay the groundwork because I know the chaos. I remember the chaos of watching these movies. They were always on cable back in the day. I mean, there wasn't a day that went by that it wasn't on some sort of a cable channel where especially 2, 3, 4, and 5 were always on cable, always. And I never turned them off.
And I think they were safe to be on cable. That's probably why they got played a lot because here's a fun fact for anybody who knows nothing about Police Academy. This is a franchise that started out very raw and raunchy.
Oh yeah, hard R.
Started hard R, yeah. And then turned into a cartoon by the end.
Yeah.
PG.
I mean, I think 6 is probably PG. It has to be, right?
I think it got to PG by 3 and then stayed
you're
PG.
Kidding me?
Yeah, PG by 3 and then stayed PG ever since.
There's still some pretty raunchy stuff in 3 and 4, but I guess you're right. It's definitely not like tits out and all that sort of stuff. It's like more, I don't know, tame. Yeah, you're right. Oh, wow.
Because even in 2, we had like brief nudity where you had like the topless sunbathers jump up and that's all we got.
Sure.
And that was about the scandalous thing. Maybe had one F-bomb and that's about it. So
sure.
They saw the writing on the wall. It was like, we need to rein this in a little bit. Maybe make a little bit more money on that.
7 to 13-year-olds love these movies. Let's tame it.
So the original film, as I understand it, and help me out if you understand this too, because I was thinking about this today and something about this just, I don't know, it didn't make any sense. Not that it needs to make sense for Police Academy, but So the start of the original movie has a text that says that the mayor of this city, which is an unnamed city, it's just the metropolitan whatever the fuck.
City USA, big city USA.
Big city USA. They've a sweeping change where any applicant, whoever wants to be a cop can be a cop. And that's the gist of it. If you want to be a cop, you can be a cop. And so we have just this influx of people who are just anxious as fuck to be a cop.
Yeah, because some of them are dead end. Some of them have dead end jobs. Some of them don't know what they're doing with their lives. Other people like Tackleberry, it's probably their life's dream. Tackleberry, who's one of my favorite characters. He just has all sorts of weapons and knows all the codes and all the rules and regulations.
He's number 2, the person who appeared in all of them. In fact, I remember seeing an interview with him, and they were, I guess, asking him, it's like, how many Police Academy movies would you do? He's like, Police Academy has paid for my house. It's paid for my children's college fund, all this other stuff. So if they want to keep making them and paying me to do them, I'll do them. It's paying for a good life. And I was like, good
for him.
Good for you, dude. So yeah, he's probably one of my favorites, hands down.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious, and he's really actually a good actor.
Shame that he passed when he did, though.
Yeah,
like, he passed like in 2000, 2001. When I found out about that, I was like floored because he's the dude. He wasn't that old, and I think it was some freak or I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but it just it's a damn shame.
Too young.
Yeah, way too damn young. But so anybody can be a cop. So like you said, influx of people just show up, and it's this motley crew of everybody. So we have, gun fanatics like Tackleberry. We've got ass kissers like Blanks and Copeland. We've got troublemakers like Mahoney. And we didn't even talk about, we mentioned Jones, but I do want to touch on his opening scene because it's the funniest fucking thing that gets me laughing every time. So if you've never seen Michael Winslow, you don't know who he is. He is a sound effects maestro, as John pointed out, can do anything. Look him up if you don't know who I'm talking about.
Oh,
do it right now. You won't be disappointed. So Mahoney meets him in the police station.
6th and stating.
What are you in for?
I'll show you. God damn it! Stop that! Oh no, sir. No, not you.
That's what makes it funny.
Yeah, they're used to this shit from what's his name, Jones. Yeah, he's just doing all. The sound effects that comes out of this guy's mouth, dogs. He could do security alarms. Throughout the whole series, he just solves problems or causes problems with his sound effects.
And it's always just the most ludicrous shit, but it's so funny. Yeah. And like I think in the 4th one, it was the scene on the boat where they were doing the ninja, because ninjas had to show up. For whatever fucking reason. But yeah, ninja showed up. They had a ninja fight, and the ninja swung his arm at him. He caught it, and then proceeds to pretend to put hot sauce on his arm and eat his arm.
And just eat it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I always wondered as a kid, and I still wonder to this day, because he does, there's scenes where he does karate.
Yeah.
And he does the fake dubbing.
Yeah.
As he's fighting, and he's like, "You want to fight?" And then he like keeps his mouth moving. Did he do that, or did they dub it?
I want to say he did it.
I hope he did it, because
me too.
Sometimes it does. Maybe it was a combination of both.
Sure.
Maybe sometimes he had to overdub but the way that those scenes especially used to make me laugh as a kid so hard, because you never saw anybody sort of like call attention to the fact that the dubbing was bad in Kung Fu until him. And I was like, oh my God, it's like a meta reference. Before I knew what a meta reference was.
Yeah. He's an odd character. If you really think about it, it's like they just threw everything at him. It's like he's a sound effects guy. He does Kung Fu. He's smart. It's like, all right, so what else can you do? It works. It's just
sometimes he's the voice of reason. Sometimes he gives advice.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a sage as well. It's just, you know what the thing I love about the series is that even up until the 5th, 6th entry, the characters are so well defined,
mm-hmm.
everybody's so different. It's a very diverse cast.
Yeah.
Absolutely, totally diverse. And even when they add a new character, it doesn't take much to get that character going. They give him 2 or 3 things, boom, 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 and he's in the flow of these crazy antics.
Right.
So the writing in this series, even though people can say it's childish, stupid, whatever, the writing is actually really good in all these movies. Well, not all. It starts to peter out by 5, 6, but the first 4 are incredible. They're incredible. I still think to this day.
I did want to ask you, because we talked a little bit beforehand about some of the latter part, because the last stretch, you said you watched them, a year ago or something like that?
Around a year ago, yeah.
Yeah, last stretch I did, I think it was a few months back, and we pretty much hit them up, night after night or something like that.
Yeah.
And first one is always going to be a classic. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Hands down, it's always going to be good, funny, whatever. 2 was one that I don't think I appreciated when I was younger. The older I've gotten, I've appreciated it so much more. Like, I did not like Mauser at all. Like, when I was a kid. I was like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
I want Harris,
You want Harris, for real.
But when I got older, I was like, I fucking love Mauser. Like, I love Harris too, but I appreciate what Mauser brings too. So
absolutely.
I really enjoyed 3 as a kid. 4 I loved.
Oh yeah.
And then 5 and 6 kind of were like, I think 5 for the most part outside of Mission to Moscow was probably the one I'd seen the least, so I was kind of wishy-washy on it. Having seen them now, I still feel the same about 1, 2 solid, 3 solid, 4 you can feel some of the creaks, but it still feels pretty good. 5 I feel like I can appreciate what they were trying to do. Like, I don't hate it because they were trying to do something completely different. It's like, hey, let's get out of the academy. Let's do something different.
Yeah.
And it was like, great, let's do it.
It just suffers from not having Mahoney. Mahoney's such a perfect linchpin for all these insane people, because because not only is Gutenberg a great actor, supposedly he has an anaconda. He's got a huge hog. They say that, like, him and Forrest Tucker had the biggest penises in Hollywood. That's what they say. But also he's just a really good actor who can keep everyone sort of on track.
Yeah.
Where all the insanity's going on around him, and even though he's insane, he's still sort of the straight man.
Yeah.
And in 5, they tried to replace him with the nephew or whatever it was of Commandant Lassard. And I'm not saying that guy's a bad actor. He is probably the least interesting character of all the movies. And because he's just a Mahoney clone.
Yeah.
Why didn't they either give the movie's lead to, I don't know, fucking Jones, Tackleberry, anybody, and just have one of those people lead it instead? But they kind of tried to replace him, and that's where it fails.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because that does seem to be what they continued to do. Because when they did Mission to Moscow, they replaced Mahoney, or I guess tried to make a brand new one with a cadet and be like, here, we've got a new young, fresh face. And the kid looked familiar too. Like, I'm almost positive he was the kid who played Ferris Bueller on TV. If I'm not mistaken, that's who that kid was. Charlie Slaughter, something like that.
I just typed in Mission to Moscow. And there's a whole other Mission to Moscow from 1943. I'm looking at this thing. Shit. It's like 2 hours and 4 minutes. No, wait. Mission to Moscow, Police Academy, Mission. Let's see. Because this, full disclosure, this I've never seen. I've never seen Mission to Moscow. Oh my God, Christopher Lee's in it?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's insane. You look at the cast and be like, how the fuck is this not good?
Holy shit. Oh, this kid. Okay, so you know what? I think isn't he the same person from part 5? I think they just brought him back. Wait, hold on. Let's double check. Because so this guy is in 18 again with George Burns. That's how I remember him.
18 again.
18 again, which is not a bad movie, actually. It's like a body. Yeah, a body swap movie where George Burns wishes he was 18 again, and then suddenly he's in this kid's body, which is Freaky Friday, etc. Oh yeah, you're right. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I guess not. I guess he's not the one from part 5. So, but that's the problem. Is the kid in my head from part 5 is him?
Ah, okay.
the guy. But is it, or maybe isn't the guy from he's from another 80s comedy, and he comes in and he's all smarmy and he's not very good. I'll remember it later on. I'll look it up. But yeah, that's the problem, is they started to become less defined with the leads, but the side characters were still pretty good.
And that doesn't make any sense because you've got some perfectly solid leads. Like, why not make Hightower your lead? He's strong.
Hightower would be perfect.
Yeah, why not? He's top bill of the fucking cast. Make him your lead. You don't need Mahoney.
No,
you know,
Bubba goddamn Smith.
That's right. I mean, that for me, that says that they had no faith in their characters because, as you said, they defined them so well, but they wouldn't allow them to stand alone without having an anchor point like a Mahoney. Right. But
and you know, I don't know. It's odd because Mission to Moscow sounds like a really good idea.
And there was I'm trying to remember what the plot was. It had something to do with a video game. And yeah, that's where it kind of went off the rails a little bit because initially
you have the Cold War, right? The nuclear weapons, this, that, the other thing, fucking Rambo with the Police Academy, whatever it is, have an action Police Academy action series fighting communists in Russia. I mean, it was of the time. Unless the Soviet Union had fallen by that time.
Well, it was in the 90s. So, yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit, 94. So Mission to Moscow came out the same year as Pulp Fiction. That is insanity.
And went straight to video, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, my God.
I just remember seeing it on a video shelf one day going, what the fuck? When did this happen?
Wow. So that one was, 6 went to the theater because I saw it. And this is funny. I was a little kid. I was being babysat by a family friend because my mother was working. So it was me and my brother, this woman's, the babysitter, her son and daughter, and her daughter's friend. And she was like, I'm going to take you all to the movies this afternoon. What movies do you want to see? And none of us could decide. We were like fighting. I wanted to see Police Academy 6. The girls wanted to see 976 Evil 2. And the little kids for some reason wanted to see Fletch 2.
What?
Yeah, Fletch Lives. And I'm like adamant. I'm like, that's a new fucking Police Academy movie. I want to see that. So the woman actually smartly planned it out and said, if we all go to the movies at this time, we can all go see the movies. And then we'll just have to wait a few minutes for everybody to get out. So we all went to 3 different movies. And I sat, that was the first movie I ever went to alone was Police Academy 6. And I loved it in the theater. I was like, I'm alone. This is a new Police Academy movie. I have my own popcorn and milk duds. This is great.
It makes a difference.
But then when I rewatched it as an adult, I kind of liked that one the least.
See, I did want to talk about that because you said you disliked it. I love it and I hate it because I can see what they were trying to do. And it seemed like they really had a solid idea that they were going to actually give these characters something solid to do as policemen, a real case. And I thought, all right, great. But it's the cartoonish nature of our villains. I mean, they literally, it's like they could have plucked them out of the animated series that they did and just said, these were the guys from the animated series and now we just brought them to the movies. How about that, kids? Yeah. I mean, if I found that out to be trivia that was true, I would believe it 100%.
Yeah, you might be right, but I did like the cartoon nature of almost the Inspector Gadget thing of the villain who's the guy behind the shroud, who's the main big bad. I thought that was a good idea. Yeah. But yeah, when I rewatched it this time, it was more, I hate to say this, but almost darker than I wanted it to be. Okay. The other ones are living cartoons. The 6th one kind of seems as if they wanted to give it some gravitas or something.
Sure. Okay.
Like some studio head was like, we need to make Police Academy, but we need to make it more serious.
Yeah. At the 6th one, that's when you're going to go serious.
Yeah. It was weird. But in 5, you know, so some of the best gags that I love are just throughout all of them. Each one has 1 or 2 gags that are just genius level shit, in my opinion. 5 has the one that I had never seen. It may have been done in another movie, but when he writes on the guy's chest,
Dork.
Harris's chest, dork.
Yeah.
And he's walking and he gets a sunburn, and then the sunscreen writes the words dork on his bare chest, and he's just walking around. He doesn't know why everybody's laughing at him and calling him a dork. As a kid, no joke, that I'm like, that's so genius. Who thought of that?
And you always wanted to try it on somebody, but never had any sunscreen to do it with, and no good target. And I was like,
No target, yeah. And then my favorite gag, I don't know why I remember this gag so well, is in the second one. Mahoney, I think, is going to meet his new partner. And it's the big like sloppy guy or whatever, and his house is a mess. It's filthy. There's cats everywhere. He's just eating disgusting food or whatever. And he sits down. He's like, "You want some cereal?" And Mahoney's like, "No." And so the guy he looks in his cereal and he goes, "The litter box," and he throws a piece of cat shit at his cat. And then he continues to eat the cereal. I mean, seriously, as a kid, but the way that actor sells it.
Oh, yeah.
Is so good.
Oh,
It's the guy from Dumb and Dumber, right?
Is it?
I think it's the guy who they poison in Dumb and Dumber, right? I think that's who I remember.
Holy
it was
shit.
in my brain. It might not be. It might just be another actor that kind of looks like that. But let's just say it is.
Okay, for the sake of argument.
Just for the sake, he's the best character actor of all time for selling that gag. I don't know why.
There was even the other one that he did later on where they're sitting there walking around the streets and he's just reminiscing and he's like, "Oh, look at that. A crunch bar hardly been touched. It's got ants all over it."
Oh,
And just starts eating it.
he's just brushing the ants off.
Yeah. Mahoney looks at him and he's like, "You're not going to eat that, are you?" And he's like, "You going to split it?" And he's like, "No."
I love that shit, man. Some of this stuff is so good. And then the other thing that I always remember, because I used to say this all the time, is Zed, of course, who is Bobcat Goldthwait.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I heard that he doesn't really like these movies.
Yeah, I've heard that same thing too. But he got a paycheck. He's like, "That's what I was here for."
Exactly. And in part 2, he's the bad guy. He's the villain. But in part 3 and 4, he becomes a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hilarious, genius. And in 4, I believe, he writes a poem.
Yeah.
And it's Gene made a machine. Joe made it go. Art blew a fart and blew the whole damn thing apart. Now, I don't know why that fucking shit is ingrained in and the way that he delivers it with that voice, is just in my head until the day I die. I'll probably recite that thing probably a few days before I die. I don't know why. It's just Pavlov over and over. I hear that shit in my brain.
It's so insane hearing him today because I see him on like different interviews and stuff like that. And it's like, there's the 80s Bobcat and there's today Bobcat, and they are not the same person. And
no, and I respect what he's become because I do like his directing work. I love World's Greatest Dad.
Yeah.
I think World's Greatest Dad is a brilliant film. And apparently he's working on the definitive Ed Wood documentary, which I would love to see.
Okay.
He's a big Ed Wood fan. He was a guest on The Last Drive-In, and I got to spend some time with him, actually.
That's right. I never even thought about that. So
yeah, he's a cool guy. He told some stories about behind the scenes about working on Jimmy Kimmel's show. He directed like 300 episodes of Jimmy Kimmel's show when it first started. So this is hilarious. So one of the guys who is a producer on The Last Drive-In at the time had the Blue Oyster song as his ringtone.
nice.
Unrelated to the fact that fucking Bobcat was there. He just had it there. And so we're all sitting in this sort of conference room waiting and just bullshitting. And Bobcat's telling stories about Jimmy Kimmel, and that phone goes off. And we all stop and look at Bobcat, and he's just like, "What?" And we're like, "You don't recognize the song?" He's like, "What? What is it?" Like, "It's from the Police Academy movies." And he goes, "Oh, I wouldn't know that. I've never seen them."
Well, fair.
It was like, "Oh, fuck, you've never even watched a cut, nothing. You don't know." And then so we asked him, we said, "Hey, what do you think? You ever think that there'll maybe a sequel?" And he goes, "How could there be a sequel? The cops are killing people. It's not funny anymore. You can't make a fucking movie where the cops are murdering people. You know, it was around the time, you know, it was closer to the George Floyd stuff. So it was like, oh, okay. I guess you're right.
Okay.
It's a different age. You can't have a footloose and fancy free cops in the police academy when they're strangling people in the street.
So let's kind of touch on that for a minute, because I remember hearing many times over, I'd say the last 10, 20 years, that they're making another one. There's going to be a sequel. There's going to be a reboot.
Yeah.
There's going to be something. And of course, it's never materialized. But do you kind of feel like these would be, like, would this work today? Do you think they would defang it, or?
I personally have a take.
Okay.
For a new Police Academy movie. I won't say it because I actually am working. I've started to collect stock footage.
Okay. And
I'm going to do a pitch video of my take on a Police Academy reboot / sequel / prequel. So I personally think it could work because I actually have a fucking idea for it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it could work. I mean, why not? Why? I mean, I understand that, yes, there are serious things in the world and there's police brutality and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, it's a cartoon, you know?
Like, when did we really get to that point? I mean, why can't we go back to this? Because think about it. There was a time where we just had goofy cop movies.
Sure.
When did that stop? Like, I honestly never really thought about it until you just said it. And I'm thinking about, it just stopped.
Well, here's a perfect example is how it worked recently was The Other Guys, right? You had Mark, whatever the fuck his name is, and Will, whatever the fuck his name is. I really spaced on Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. They made a funny cop movie, and that was only about 10 years ago, right? Not much more than 10 years ago. So I think that it could work because that worked. That was a funny ass movie. People went to see it and whatever. So I think that there is a space for a Police Academy reboot. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to see more of these. I feel like that on one hand, I would kind of want to see some familiar faces, but, you know, and then kind of when the new people come in, just depends on how it's handled. You know, it's because you want a little bit of history going back there. If you're going to do a legacy, yeah. I want to be able to see some familiar faces, at least a few that are still kicking.
You know, I think that without disrespecting anyone, you could find one or two people that sound or look alike the characters. I mean, they did it. I think one of the best scenes in the new Halloween movies was that flashback, and they had the guy that looked and sounded exactly like Loomis. Yeah. Exactly like Donald Pleasance. Why wasn't that half the fucking movie? Why weren't we showing flashbacks? I mean, show us the part in Curse of Michael Myers that they couldn't film. Yeah. Because they couldn't finish that movie because Donald Pleasance died. And without disrespecting the man, fulfill that character's legacy and show us him fighting Michael Myers to the death or something. Anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that there probably is a person in the world who could do a Commandant Lassard impersonation. Sure, yeah. Or there is a person Mahoney, he's still alive, yeah. Steve Guttenberg. And he seems to be a very positive influence on Instagram.
I've noticed.
So make his new character more like the Steve Guttenberg of today. He's a very positive person. He could tell people that they have to be good to the citizens and we have to do good for the world and we're a police officer. You know, he's more of like a lighter, more positive Mahoney.
Yeah. And I don't think that would be a stretch. I don't think that would be outside the realm of possibility. He was a pretty positive guy toward the last two or three. Like
positive, but a scumbag. I mean, He only wanted to do was sleep with Sharon Stone in Part 4. I mean, there is not a single scene where he's not sexually harassing Sharon Stone. I mean, her character kind of liked it too, but
sure.
Which is amazing. Sharon Stone, pre-Basic Instinct, pre-Total Recall, is in a Police Academy movie in like the most basic character arc ever. Just a random reporter.
And I watched that movie so many times and for some reason forgot that was her until I got older and looked back and I was like, what? Like, I spaced. I don't know. It's weird.
That's some wild shit. So what about you? Do you think that you can see a police academy?
I
New
would love,
age?
yeah, I would love to see a police academy. I would love to see it go back to the more risque, try to go back to a little bit more. It doesn't have to be, because I guess when it comes to hard R rated movies, I've got lines to my humor.
Sure.
I love dark humor. I love a good fart joke. I love some slapstick. Whatever. But then you can take it to a place where it just gets gross, like gross out humor that they used to do, like circa. I was even thinking about that shit the other day, like 2000, 2010, kind of in that era. It was all gross out, like how gross can it be and how funny it's gonna be because it's gross. And it just got to the point where it was like, fuck you, dude. I don't want to watch this shit, man. It's not funny. It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
So
they started, it was the bodily fluid humor.
Yeah, but at any point in time, though, I mean, these movies have a variety of humor that I find funny. I don't give a shit what it is. You can have from just Jones doing his silly shit to, I think the stuff that cracks me up more than anything when I get into a real kick is when the anger, just when people get angry and they just do stupid shit when they're angry, cracks me up so hard. So when they're in just the what was it, the balls in part 4?
Don't touch those! Don't you ever touch my balls without asking.
See, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
The first scene in the first movie, you got that whole scene with the blowjob.
Oh my God, yes.
When the woman, she's hiding underneath she's hiding underneath the what is it, a podium?
Yeah.
And then this guy's giving a speech in front of everybody, and she just starts blowing him, and he's
now for context for anybody who's not seen this. She was a prostitute. She was brought there to set up Mahoney by 2 of the other cadets.
Right.
He was trying to, not set up Mahoney. Mahoney was trying to get rid of her. They were trying to set up Barbara because he sent them to the Blue Oyster Bar. Which is a whole other conversation we need to have. But so he was trying to get rid of her, took her to to this big stage area or whatever, gymnasium. I don't know. Anyway, takes her in there, throws her into a podium. She's like, "You want to do it here?" He's like, "Yeah, but I'll be right back. The real customer's coming very shortly." And then at that moment, the commandant comes in with a whole group, and she's like, "Well, here we are."
Yeah, this is the job.
And then blows him while he's giving a speech.
But the way that guy plays it.
Oh my God. Yes.
The dad from Punky Brewster. Great actor. I also realized he's in Tootsie.
Yeah.
He was in an episode of Columbo the other day that I saw. This guy was acting all over the place. He's a great actor. And he also sells these movies really well. And when he's doing that, like as he's giving the speech, pretending he's trying to give inflection to a certain word, but he's really getting pleasure. It's so fucking well done. I love that shit.
Just even the range of emotions he's going through, the highs, the lows, to the just like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. And I think I even loved it even more, just like the button on it. So when he goes back to his office, Harris is in there, and he's so frazzled by the whole thing. He's just like, what are you going to do about Mahoney? And he's like, what? What are we doing? He's like, he's done a very bad thing. To who?
Oh, yeah, because
I don't know. Are you okay? No. Can I go? Sure.
And the fact that guy, did he have the goldfish in the first one?
He did.
Commandant Lassard? He did.
Yeah.
That's so cute. He has this goldfish he loves. He's always feeding it and bringing it around like a dog. He's got it in the bowl. He's walking around with it. It's so great.
I think they really turned it into a character by the second one, which is a really interesting choice that they made, because it was just an innocuous little goldfish, like nothing to it. And then the second one, like you said, he's now become, take a look at everybody over here. He's turning him into an entire character.
The first one is written by a couple of guys who did some other amazing comedies, Pat Proft especially, who wrote he was a writer on The Naked Gun, also the TV show Police Squad. He was a writer on one of my favorite underrated comedies of all goddamn time, Brain Donors.
Brain Donors is
hands down even more underrated than these goddamn movies. I mean, Brain Donors is the Marx Brothers in the 90s.
Nobody talks about that movie. Like,
it's so
anytime
good.
I find someone who knows that movie, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Because no one ever talks about it. When I first saw it, I was like, what is this? Because I didn't know, like, at the time when I first saw it, because it came out in the 90s, like you said, I didn't know who the Marx Brothers were. I wasn't very familiar with them. Over time, obviously, I've gotten to know them. And then when I went to revisit, I was like, motherfucker, they're doing the Marx Brothers.
The Marx Brothers, but it's the 90s and there's only three of them. So it's like the Three Stooges meets the Marx Brothers meets Laurel and Hardy meets that modern sensibility of Police Academy humor.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. I love that goddamn movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pat Proft, great writer. And then Neil Israel, who directed a couple of other great comedies like Bachelor Party.
Mm-hmm.
Bachelor Party. I mean, let's get Tom Hanks to do some sort of a not gross out comedy, but another broad comedy like Bachelor Party. He's got to go back to that, right?
Why not? Because, I mean, all he's doing now seems to be these experimental movies with Robert Zemeckis and shit. Why not go back to the well and Bachelor Party too? Why not?
Well, yeah, or even just like a new comedy where he's frantic. Tom Hanks is like, just falling all over the place and doing his thing. I think he could do it. I think he has one more great broad comedy in him.
I can't even remember the last time I saw him do a comedy in recent years outside of something that was supposed to be, touching or heartfelt or something like that. Maybe it's a little funny.
Yeah, the last one is maybe Joe versus the Volcano or The Burbs, whichever came last was like sort of it. Everything else, I mean, there are moments of levity. I think fucking Forrest Gump is a very funny movie.
Sure, yeah.
I laughed my balls off in a lot of that, but it's not meant to be just a comedy. I think that he could do he can bring comedy back.
Right.
He can bring comedy back because there's not a lot of comedies, just pure comedies being released in this day and age. If Tom Hanks went back and did a fucking pure comedy, box office gold.
Well, I know this wouldn't have been pure comedy, but League of Their Own, 90s. He was fucking hilarious in that.
So funny. Well, okay, I would even take that level of comedy where there's like comedy with a message.
Sure.
Fine, as long as 90% of it is funny and then 10% of it is message. I feel like Hanks now is 99% message, 1% comedy. I don't know about this Zemeckis movie.
Oh, you haven't heard of that?
No, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be any. I just know it's one camera angle, right? And it doesn't move.
That's what I've heard. It's supposed to be fixated to this one point in the universe. And you get to see,
watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to check it out too. But I understand that this could be a difficult watch. Maybe it might not be interesting. I get it. So I'm tempering expectations. I don't want to go in being like, oh man, this is going to blow my mind.
And then, you know what? Actually, the other thing about the writers of the second, third, and fourth, or maybe second and third, they're a couple of the guys behind like Coming to America.
Yeah, you were telling me that, yeah.
That's insane. I mean, these guys wrote great comedies. They wrote, I think, the Nutty Professor movie for Eddie Murphy. So they're also a pretty well established comedy writer pedigree behind them.
For 2 and 3, when I recently learned Jerry Paris, the director of those, he is actually you might have to look at his filmography up, but he directed, I think it was some Happy Days.
Oh, you're kidding.
Episodes. And
no wonder.
Was on an old, for some reason I want to say Dick Van Dyke, but I don't think that's the show. Like he was an actual actor in one of those shows back then and then became a director in the 70s.
Holy shit, I already see that he's associated with the Kane Mutiny. Yeah, the Dick Van Dyke Show.
So what?
Holy shit. Damn. So, I mean, he's
got pedigree.
Yeah, so so Jerry Paris did Police Academy 2 and 3, but before that he directed 237 episodes of Happy Days. Yeah. 237. He directed 1 episode of Sesame Street. He directed all kinds of stuff. Laverne and Shirley. He directed The Odd Couple. 19 episodes of The Odd Couple. So this guy also had an amazing comedy pedigree behind him.
Yeah. And I think if I'm not mistaken, he is the reason we got Mauser. Like he knew Art Metrano and he was aware of his shtick, and he was like, I want that guy for
Wow.
this role. And that was another thing, too, that I recently learned, just from, like, that's another thing I want to kind of mention. Another thing that we have a connection with is the Gilbert Gottfried podcast. You know, that was one of my all-time favorite things until that man passed. So much so that when he passed, I got emotional because I was like, fuck, that's part of my day.
Yeah.
And now it's gone? What the fuck?
I still listen to it. I go back because there's episodes I haven't heard, and I think it's one of the greatest old Hollywood podcasts that has come around because he interviewed so many people from those back in the day.
And the stories, man.
Yeah.
I listened to them all day. I can't even remember who it was, but it was the moment I realized I love that podcast is they were talking to an agent from way back when or something like that. I can't remember the guy's name, but just the fucking stories he was telling, I was like, God damn, I love this podcast. Because this is fascinating just to hear these stories.
On my re-listen recently, I had always heard Gilbert Gottfried tell this one story about the guy who played the Joker, Cesar Romero. And there was some sort of a story about how he used to have all these women come over and stand naked in a circle. And then he would get in the circle also naked with a chicken. And all the women would sing to him, you simply have to fuck this chicken. So, I mean, I heard Gilbert Gottfried tell that story 10 times. I fucking found the original story.
No shit.
From that podcast when the guy told Gilbert, and then Gilbert was like, I'm telling this story forever. So it's just like that kind of stuff is so good. Or the story that he tells about how a bunch of old Hollywood guys used to go and go up in helicopters and get blowjobs and fly around their wives' houses and shit.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. It's fucking insane. But yeah, I love that podcast. I love that man. And it's a shame that he's gone.
Yeah. I brought it up for a specific reason that had to do with goddamn movie. And I got to remember what. Oh, it was Art Metrano. When they talked to him on the show, I had no idea. The like his life and all the shit that he was doing. And then when I connected the dots with the dun 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 dun, I was like, oh my God, all these puzzle pieces, all this shit that I've known is all coming together. And I'm like, well, shit, now I've got the origins of everything right here. All because of this podcast. But yeah,
it's the best.
Yeah, so I guess where I was going with this was part 2, Jerry Paris, great movie. Mauser's great. I loved his addition. I did also, not to spread gossip or anything like that, but I just thought it was a fun. I was looking up trivia for a lot of these too, and I found one juicy little tidbit. I was like, oh, okay. And it's about Jerry Paris. And Leslie Easterbrook apparently had a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, it said affair, and I was like, affair. I looked. Jerry was widowed. She, however, was married. So she was the one who wasn't in a good place, and apparently it was so good it killed him because he died after the movie came out.
Oh,
I don't know.
goodness.
That's true. I'm not saying that was her fault. I'm just
sounds like they were having fun behind the scenes on the Police Academy movies.
I mean, I'm sure we both had some thoughts about Callahan at one point.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
She's so beautiful in these movies. And I remember as a kid, it made me feel strange because I had never become attracted to a woman with short hair until then.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized like a woman with short hair can be fucking hot, just as hot, if not hotter than a woman with long hair. That was my first dip into that realm. Short haired women. Yeah.
She was she would have to be definitely one of those first crushes. I can't, because she was always kind of there early on, and I don't know. Like you said, there's just something about her, man. She's anyway.
Yeah, Kim Cattrall. She's in the first movie, and she's gorgeous. I mean, it's just like she's in Porky's as well, and she had a lot of a good run in these comedies at that time.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about, just go look it up.
Go watch Porky's.
That's another great one that I don't. Well, all right. So I want to ask this question.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're gonna get serious
Let's go.
because I'm trying to figure out how to ask this without getting too.
Is Porky's problematic? Is that the question?
Well, I know that people would say yes, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
and I can understand where some of that could be put into place. Same with some stuff in Police Academy. I can see some problematic bits here and there.
Sure.
They worked it out. I would even say to some degree, Police Academy, for whatever faults it might have, it does have a very progressive scene in it
Sure.
regarding Hooks and Hightower. And, lucky that Copeland didn't have his head torn off. But, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So, Christ, where was I going with this?
Porky's
Porky's being problematic. There we go. So, yeah. So, with these movies being problematic today, we always hear, well, the woke culture, people getting ass hurt, blah, 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 blah. But I also keep hearing this talk from comedians who are just like, yeah, we kind of need to loosen up a little bit, you know? Like, I even feel like they're getting to that point, too. I don't know where the line is here. I personally feel like anything can be funny.
Yeah.
If you're just not being mean about it,
Mhm.
you can
Yeah.
make a joke of any kind, making fun of anybody,
Yeah.
and it can be funny. If you just, have a sense of humor about it.
Sure. So there was this movie that I watched the other day called Dinner in America. It came out during the pandemic and didn't really do too well, but now it's starting to gain traction because it's on Hulu and the guys from Red Letter Media did sort of a spotlight episode on it. So people are starting to know about it. It's getting re-released in places like IFC Theater here. And I watched it. It's a great comedy, but they say some fucking crazy shit in that movie. And this movie came out in 2020. I mean, they're using the R word, the F word, both F words. You know what I'm saying? So but it's also a very heartfelt, sweet movie about two lonely characters who find each other in this fucked up world. So I think it's being critically lauded. Like people are saying is what a great movie it is and stuff like that. So I think nowadays, as long as it's done correctly, and it's not like you said, as long as it's done in the right way, it can fly. That's why I think even gross out comedy can come back. All these things can come back as long as they're done in a tasteful way. But tasteful is the wrong word. Just an artful way.
Yeah, like I watch a lot of these movies. When I go back and watch these movies, I watch a lot of them, and there's hardly a time that I'm watching it going like, man, that's so problematic. I can't laugh at that.
Right.
I have had movies or something like that I'll come across and I'll see a joke and I'm like, that didn't.
Oh yeah, there's some shit like the Dumb and Dumber sequel. Have you seen this?
God, yeah.
Dumb and Dumber 2. I was on board with that movie until they did a flashback where the side character Harry or whatever, the Jeff Daniels character, they show a flashback into his past where he put peanut butter on his balls and let a dog lick it off. Now that is where I'm just like, why that? It could have been any fucking embarrassing thing. Why is he fucking an animal? I don't find that really too funny, even though maybe fucking an animal in a different circumstance can be funny. I mean,
Case in point.
That documentary Zoo.
Oh God, no!
It's hilarious.
I was gonna say case in point, Clerks 2, the Donkey Show.
See, now that is way funnier,
right,
than what they did in Dumb and Dumber 2, and that's because if you're following these main characters, right, and all of a sudden he's fucking a dog, you're not on board with the main character anymore. But in Clerks 2, it's some side character you've never seen before that is making the entire situation more uncomfortable for the main characters. Right. That's why it works there.
And there's an entire setup for an entirely different scenario that you don't get. You have a vision in your head for one thing, and you get something else.
So that's where I think Kevin Smith succeeded, and the filmmakers of Dumb and Dumber 2, the Farley brothers, did not succeed with their bestiality joke.
It just seems like a cheap, just like, what are we gonna, dog.
Yeah, peanut butter and a dog all day. It could have been he got caught by the neighbor's massive. I don't know anything else other than him getting his balls licked and tricking this poor dog into doing it.
Yeah.
So it's always context. Yuki and I did a comedy about a podcast about comedy not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to release it pretty soon. And Yuki has some interesting ideas about comedy. And what he said is, like, say, Chaplin or Woody Allen or these kind of comedies, it comes out of real places about real things that you and I can relate to, like relationships, being broke, these sorts of things. That's when comedy works. So I think in a lot of cases in the Police Academy movies, even though it's a cartoon, it comes from like us versus them, establishment versus punching down at you, that sort of thing. That's where a lot of the comedy comes from.
Yeah.
So I think that works because we as people can relate to that, where as putting peanut butter on my balls and having it licked off by my poor family dog, I can't relate to that because I wouldn't put my fucking dog through that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry if I'm turning your podcast into me talking about bestiality, but that's the worst, most egregious error I've ever seen in a movie that took me out of it. So
I can understand that. I think I've had those instances that you're talking where you're done. You're just like,
yeah. It's like, why? What? This sort of thing has to go through 50 levels of clearances, right? And every single person was like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Like, but in the Police Academy movies, there are some fucked up things that they do, especially in the first one. But it's sort of, I don't know why it lands in good nature.
Yeah, I guess because it comes off a little bit more outlandish, Looney Tunes-esque at times. Yeah. Like it never really, I guess by 6 it gets there, but I wouldn't even say it really gets Looney Tune-ish, you know what I mean?
Right.
It feels like it, but it's not quite reached that part. So yeah,
I don't know. It's maybe that is the thing to do in the new one is to talk about all these modern problems and just not make fun of them, but have those characters go through those things. And that's what's funny about it, is that we can relate to the modern horrors that they're going through and filtered through the Police Academy that they're going through. I don't know, online dating or racism or all these things that Trump being in office, all these things that who knows, maybe that's how we can filter the jokes, and that's how we can get through these next 4 years.
Yeah. We've yet to say anything about it on this show yet, but
I'm bringing up all the fucked up things. I'm bringing up bestiality, Donald Trump.
We were going to talk about it eventually. It's just one of those, like, we're just
no, but that's it. That's what it is. And I think that the Police Academy, the first few are so 80s.
Yeah,
so you can't take it away from the time, but maybe Police Academy isn't the right franchise for this day and age. But there has to be some comedy. I mean, and I'm not talking about just like Dinner in America, right? That's a comedy, but it has very serious moments. I want the return to the broad comedy.
Yeah.
Is it happening? I mean, I know maybe some TV shows are doing it, but where's they're rebooting Naked Gun. Can it work? You think it could work?
I don't know. Like, when I'm hearing some of the people who are involved, it gives me a little bit of calm. Like, I'm like, all right, these are people who know comedy, who I think are funny. I think they'll understand the approach, because I never realized, again, until I got older, how the Naked Gun worked as a comedy. Like, to really, really understand why that shit was funny.
Right.
And then when I understood it as an adult, I'm like, all right, I see what you're doing. And it's actually, as much as I hate to say this, 2 and 3, I don't know how you feel about them, I see them as, like, the more I've watched them, the older I've gotten, I see them as inferior. Like, there's something about them. Like, the comedy's not hitting the same. Like, they turned him into a joke or a pratfall, as opposed to allowing him to be the straight man to the comedy. He's now like, oh, I'm a bumbling fool. I'm
yes, 3
everything.
especially. 2 still has some excellent stuff.
Yeah.
But 3... really, you're right. They turn him into a buffoon. Yeah. And the beauty of the first one, especially, is that he's just a cop who is very serious about his job, but all these weird fucking things keep coming up around him, and he plays it straight the whole time.
Yeah. And just everything has to be straight. Like there was the one conversation where it's just like,
That's the red light district. Wonder why Savage is hanging out down there.
Sex, Frank?
No, not right now, Ed. We got work to do.
it's like,
Yeah, Harold, he's telling him O.J. Simpson's telling him the answer, and he's like, "That's a tall order. You might need to give me a couple of days." It's like, like shit like that is so fucking good.
So in that context, if you have Liam Neeson doing that shit, I saw him do that shit in Ted. Now, would it be funny the entire movie? I don't know. It depends on how he approaches it. But
It could be. He could do it. It could happen as long as they let like George Kennedy and the way that they played it straight the whole time. It's just straight train through the comedy
yeah,
of being straight.
that's the goal. And when I realized that, it just makes shit so much funnier. Airplane being one of those movies.
Oh my
so
God.
much funny. I mean,
Well, specifically with Airplane, the Zucker brothers just bought the rights to a serious airport drama.
I heard
Didn't rewrite the plot at all and just added jokes.
I heard that, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It made me rethink so much of their movies, because if you take a look at that, somebody did this expose on them, like exposing that very thing, and then how they ripped off other jokes. Especially, I think there was one in 3 they ripped off from a Get Smart movie.
Oh, really?
The Get Smart movie. It was the joke about the guy being in prison for so long that he used to be white and now he's black.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, like that was in the Get Smart movie, and then practically the same joke as in Naked Gun 3.
Interesting.
And I was like, okay, funny enough. And they said, is this a coincidence that was called the nude bomb and this is the Naked Gun?
Oh.
Yeah. This guy broke down so many other scenes and then just started looking at all these things that they had kind of ripped off. And I was like, man, that fucking sucks, because
Ooh.
I liked a lot of these movies and you're ruining them for me, because they ripped off a lot of stuff. Yeah.
You know what? I don't care.
It for like, but
Airplane and Naked Gun, even if they were both those movies were plagiarized front to back, I'd still love them because they're fucking masterpieces.
I looked at it like this, because it brought me some solace, at least, because they also did like Scary Movie 3, 4, and 5, and those were fucking terrible.
I didn't like those at all. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, okay, so when they have to work original, they can't do it. Huh. Okay. I'll live with that.
Interesting.
We got good stuff out of it.
You know, the last thing I'll say about the Naked Gun is they better call it this Son of a Naked Gun, because he's supposed to be the son of Frank Drebin. Yeah, he's supposed to be the son. And if they call it just Naked Gun, they missed an opportunity here.
Well, would he be that old then? Because
he's Frank Drebin Jr.
Because the Naked Gun 3 was in 1990, so he would be only like, what, 35? Liam Neeson's like fucking in his 50s.
That would be great if that's a joke.
That could
It's
be
like,
a joke.
how old are
That's
you?
very true.
35 next Tuesday. You know, it's like
The Job.
Yeah.
The Job did this.
The
to
job
me.
got to me. Yeah, see, there's the jokes.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that, as we were just talking about, I mean, if we can do kind of the Naked Gun, if they can bring that back, why not beat cop comedies? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Car 54, Where Are You? The movie didn't ruin it for everybody. We could do it again.
That's right. Bust the point. Dexter was in there.
That's right. What a movie that was.
I know. Another crazy cop movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 80s loved crazy cops. You had Dragnet, Car 54, Where Are You? Naked Gun, Police Academy.
Then we had the dog, K9, Turner and Hooch.
And Hooch, K9. You had
a dog duo.
That's right. You even had the security guards with Eugene Levy and John Candy, Armed and Dangerous.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Damn, I gotta watch
Beverly
that.
Hills Cop. There's so many
Hills
cop comedies in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And we're still doing them. We just did. There was just another Beverly Hills Cop. So we can do Police Academy.
You know, the sad thing about that one, it's just, I don't think Eddie Murphy wants to be funny anymore.
It does kind of seem like, I don't know,
there was like 2 great scenes in that movie where he, and I'm not saying the movie was bad. The movie itself was fine, but Eddie Murphy just doesn't seem to want to be the buffoon. He wants to be taken sort of serious and da 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 da. I don't know what it is. There's a couple of scenes where he goes on a rant. And I'm like, all right, Axel Foley's back, and then that's it. He doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah, there was like the one scene where he's talking with the valet kid.
Sure,
maybe the other time at the ball game at the beginning.
Yeah, he said a couple of jokes when they were at the real estate thing about he said something about you never call black people monkeys or something like that. That was when Bronson Pinchot said like, oh, you two love monkeys, and he said like, you never call black people. So like stuff like that. I think that they should have leaned in Beverly Hills Cop for sure. Leaned harder into the fact that he's a black police officer in the modern age, and have it be more leaning into the racist aspects of that sort of thing. And I think they shied away from that. Probably. I mean, they could have had Kevin Bacon be a pure racist asshole son of a fuck that at the end of that movie, you're like glad that Axel Foley beat the fuck out of him.
What is with Kevin Bacon here lately doing? Like, he is chewing scenery in his movies. He's loving it, man.
Oh, he's just having a renaissance where they're like, hey, let's get Kevin Bacon. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do your fucking movie. Sure. Yeah.
I feel like there was a point in time where he was just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And then now it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, he's doing it. I mean,
whatever.
He just what was the other one I just saw? Oh, Maxine. He like showed up in 3 scenes in Maxine, just having a grand old time.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to see, or have you had a chance to see the Toxic Avenger remake that he's in?
No, I have not seen it.
Yeah,
I know.
What the fuck?
It's really sad because they're saying there's no audience for it,
which is bullshit.
Doesn't make any sense. There's an audience for the other 4 Toxic Avengers, and even if it's not the audience that they necessarily expected to have, if you can't sell a movie that has Peter Dinklage, Elijah Wood, Kevin Bacon in it, then what the fuck is the world coming to? How could you not sell this movie?
Right. The names alone. Just slap it on the poster, the green poster that they've had, and say, there you go.
People who don't even know what the Toxic Avenger is will go see it just because Peter Dinklage is in it, or because Elijah Wood's in it, or because Kevin Bacon. They'll be like, oh, what's this weird superhero? Plus, put in the superhero angle. I mean, he's a superhero. Mm-hmm. You say, you know, this is the anti-Marvel. There's so many ways to market it, and it doesn't even have to show footage from the damn movie. Just shoot some sort of a teaser trailer that is like, oh, there's a new hero rising. Here are the names that are in it, and people will go, oh, maybe I'll give that a shot. I also though have a theory, and I have not. This is not what Lloyd has not said anything to me about this. I did ask him about it, and he just said he doesn't know why they're not releasing it. Maybe they're trying to drum up interest in it by having it be one of those things where it's something a lost piece of media, and then maybe a few years later they release it and everybody's so excited because it's built up this mystique. Something like Brian Wilson's Smile that he abandoned in the 60s didn't get released until 2001. He didn't finish it until then, and then everybody was like, oh my god, he finished it. So maybe that's something that the Lionsgate is saying, you know, it's a write-off. We just had a huge hit with Dune, right? I think it's Legendary, right? Yeah, Legendary.
Yeah, Legendary, yeah.
So maybe they're like, oh, we made so much money with Doom, we don't need to release the Toxic Avenger. Let's let this thing sit, and then we'll release it in 10 years, and everybody will go nuts because they thought it was lost.
I mean, you might be right, because nothing about it makes any sense to me. Like, when I heard it's unreleasable, I was like, bullshit. There was a screening. People said it was great. I mean, I think actually I looked up and one of the people who thought it was good was Joe Lynch, the director. Yeah. He was like, this is a really fun movie. It's like, so what the fuck is the problem? I mean, there are people out there like you and I who would watch that movie regardless of whether or not it was good. I mean, we just talked about the fucking 6 Police Academy movies. This movie is definitely releasable, The Toxic Avenger. It's like, come on. Whether it's in theaters or on a streaming platform. I just want to see it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but we're not the people in charge. We're not the money men. You know, like the fact that fucking a Looney Tunes movie that was goddamn completed can't be released.
That's another one that doesn't make sense. Like how it cannot be that it's any worse than Looney Tunes Back in Action. And I love Joe Dante.
Yeah. I mean, from everything that I've heard, this was a far cry from that. I mean, goddamn, did you see Space Jam 2? My brain is still hurting from that.
Oh, oof.
I knew it was going to be bad. I just did it.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that everybody's up in arms about this and that in media and kids media and this and that. And then in Space Jam 2 in the damn trailer, you got the guys from Clockwork Orange. They're rapists. So you're
Right
saying
there.
the kids are I mean, what is the hypocrisy of these people?
Yeah, it's insane. Just whatever IP we have, cram it in there. That's what
Yeah.
we need. But then yet they seem like they don't. Well, I don't know if this is through under new leadership through this Zaslav fucker or whatever,
Zaslavs.
but
Yeah.
he just seems like he doesn't give a shit about anything. Like Warner Brothers, what is that? Fucking Looney Tunes? I don't care.
Yeah, there must be some sort of way that he's making money by not doing it. I mean, of course, it's like they're saying there's a tax loss, it's a this or that, and the other thing, you know, a whole finished Batwoman movie. There has to be a business reason, obviously, that he's doing it. And maybe we just don't know the ins and outs, and maybe he will stand to make more money by not putting it out. I don't know.
The Batgirl movie, I could understand. Like, I don't agree with it. I still feel like it's bullshit, but I understand.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as stupid as it fucking is, women superheroes are a gamble, even though Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman have proven to be profitable.
Yeah, they did well.
Both
why
did
not?
$1 billion.
Yeah.
So, I understand it's a gamble. It's a risk. Plus, that's a fucking DC universe bullshit. It's already falling apart anyway. That was a broken bridge.
Although the Penguin's dope.
Oh my god, the Penguin is so fucking amazing.
It's freaking great.
But yeah, the whatever this is now, I mean the I can't even remember. What was it Acme versus Coyote versus Acme? That's what.
Right.
Like just reading about it, I'm like, yes, I want to see this. Like, who wouldn't want to see this? This sounds amazing as a concept. And they said it's
Great.
done. It's done. We're finished with it. We just need to release it. And they're like, nah. It's like that. You have to spend no more money just to release it, other than maybe to advertise it, unless you just dump it on Max, which I don't really feel like it deserves. But
then people would find it still.
yeah,
And then
people-
Twitter or whatever it is, X, and all the social medias would start to go in an organic way, would start to promote it without having to spend any advertising money.
And think about the advertising alone for bare minimum. All you have to do is cut one trailer. The Coyote is suing the company in which fucks him over every single time. The concept should sell itself. So what more do you need? Like, I want to see that just based on that alone.
Yeah, I don't know how these companies work, and that's probably why I'm a broke piece of shit.
Yeah. I feel it. Well, we've gone way off topic of Police Academy. But
No, it's
all
good. That's what Police Academy does. It springboards into new ideas, and you start to think about, you know, the meaning of comedy and the business behind the business of show business and all these sort of things.
Yeah, it's a fun movie series. If you can get the series, I don't even think you can find it anywhere. I don't know. I remember watching maybe an episode or two. It was kind of interesting.
Where did it air? Was it on
I think it
actual?
was syndicated. So it was always very hard to find because you had to find the channel, what time they were syndicating, and around my area it was like 12 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon.
Whoa, and it was like
an hour-long comedy drama. So it's like
Whoa.
they tried to lean into the more drama, but it still had the comedic elements because you had Michael Winslow and everything. And I even heard that, if I'm not mistaken, Mouser showed up too.
Oh, wow.
Like he was like a guest spot once or twice. But I never could find it to watch it, except
That's
for maybe
crazy.
once or twice. So
Interesting.
hmm.
Maybe I'll try. Maybe there's some YouTube clips or something. I am interested to see what it was all about.
If you could find it, definitely send me a link, because I've searched around. I've checked the Internet Movie Database. I've looked YouTube. I've not come across it, but I mean, somebody may have uploaded something in recent months. So who
Internet
knows?
Archive is back. So
That's right.
after they're hacked, they might have the complete Police Academy series.
That crushed me when they went down. I was like, no, God, no.
They're the best place for lost media. I mean, there's been 5 or 6 movies that I've wanted to see that were never released on DVD or Blu-ray, and I found them there.
I hooked them up with Cocoon because I had been bitching about Cocoon, and then I did a little bit of digging, and I found myself a nice, pristine HD version somewhere on the dark webs, and I was like, I'm taking this, and I'm going to put it over here. So everybody can enjoy it.
And that links to Mahoney. Steve Guttenberg is in Cocoon and the Police Academy franchise.
That's right. That is a movie our fans definitely know that I've bitched about on the show. We did an episode about it because I don't understand why it's not on physical media, or at least a modern physical media. It's on DVDs, I'm sure, but you're going to pay an arm and a leg for it.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this movie? Why is it not released? I mean, this is a Ron Howard film.
Yeah, it's a good ass movie. I mean, Brian Dennehy, Wilford Brimley, Steve Guttenberg, so many. One of the guys was nominated for an Oscar for it. One of the older actors, Jessica Tandy. Don Amici was nominated. Jessica Tandy. I mean, there's so many fucking great actors, and it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Like, that film introduced me to all those older actors. Like, I did not know who they were, as a kid, but that film fascinated me. I think Steve Guttenberg was also my in, because I knew him. And I was like, oh, hey, there's a guy. And then Wilford Brimley I also kind of knew. Like, I think
he was around in the 80s doing his thing.
There was a show on NBC.
Not Nash Bridges, but something like that. One of those family shows. There was a show on NBC that he was on that I remember seeing him in, and I don't know if he was doing his diabetes commercials yet. That might have been a little later, but
then he was in that Ewok movie. There was the second Ewok movie, the Battle for Endor.
That's right. And let me tell you, Don Amici, man, go watch Brute Force. It's a brute force with Burt Lancaster. It's a prison film. Don Amici plays one of the baddest, most sadistic sons of bitches you'll ever see in film, and you wouldn't know it from Cocoon that he could do this.
Wow! All right,
it's a great noir.
I'll definitely check it out. I like Don Amici. I saw him in, what did we watch the other day? He was in Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Shit! Yeah. The 80s were weird, man.
They were, but they were so good, man.
So good, so good. They were taking chances in the 80s like nobody's business. They weren't saying, "Oh, we can't release." They would have released 5 of those Acme movies and lost money and been like, "Make another one. Let's just keep going."
I mean, take a look at the slasher genre in that whole 80s. They were just like, put out another one, do another one,
do another.
Keep going. Now that's barely get anything done.
That's what resurrected the site. Like, literally, probably Psycho 2 was made because slashers did so good, and they were like, oh, what do we have in our fucking vault? They're like, oh, Psycho, just bring it back. And they just kept doing everything over and over and over again.
But it was really good. Psycho
it's
2
really
was
good.
Actually really good.
I love Psycho 2. Yeah. I love it. I love all of them, actually, to be honest.
Yeah. They all have like their own flavor to them. It's like, do you want a little something, simple and like dark and creepy? You got this. You want something more slasher oriented? Here you go.
Yeah. You want a masterpiece? You want Henry Thomas as Norman? Yeah. We got it all for you.
Love it. Yeah, we're all over the place, people. I'm sorry about that. But again, great conversations about movies. That's what I love.
Yeah, movies, man. That's what it's all about. My life, I love movies, music, books, and then, of course, family and friends.
Yeah.
That's all I care about it these days.
Movies and music, or at least music, definitely gets me through my day. And then movies, it's what I get to do when I get home. I want to relax. I want to leave it all behind and go disappear.
Oh, wait, food. I love food, too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, food's good. Well, I'll say we'll cut it right there. We'll probably ramble on God knows where from there on. But
should we rank them?
Yeah, let's rank them. All right. So
all right.
I'll let you go first. So
okay,
I'll give you a pass on Mission to Moscow since you haven't seen it. So
hold on. Let me pull it up because I actually put it out on Twitter. I put my rankings out when I watched them last year, so I'll tell you exactly because I know I did it in a stupid way, which is probably like 2, 3, and 4 tied for first or something like that. But let me give you exactly a Police Academy search. Let's see, from Bad Techno. I'm at Bad Techno on Twitter. So let's see. Oh shit, it doesn't come up. Of course, I got to fail myself as soon as I try to get a Police Academy rankings. Okay, here it is. My Police Academy rankings, and I'll retweet this. Ranking # Police Academy movies, 3 and 4 in first place is a tie.
All right. Okay.
Those are my number 1. 2 in the 2 slot. 1 and 2 tie.
Okay.
Stupid. Third entry, 5 and 6 tie. Okay. And then fourth, and I've never seen it, 7.
Yeah.
And I just know it would be the worst.
And it would be. I'll go ahead and give you that one.
Yeah. So those are my rankings. There's only 4 slots for 7 movies, 3 ties.
I honestly, thinking about it right now, I might actually just have to go down the line. I think 1 is the best and 7 to the worst. I think, not to say that they are bad. I mean, as we've talked about them right here, we enjoy them for what they are, and I just think that there is diminishing returns, but each one has something that I enjoy about it. So
yeah. And I think that the only reason I say 3 and 4 are first is probably a bit of nostalgia. I would say that 1 and 2 are better classically made movies in a way. Like they have more story and this and that. 3 and 4 are just thin plots to hang gags on. But
absolutely. But they're
what
fun.
gags they are, yeah.
Yeah, I think I realized that the last rewatch. I was like, these are kind of paper thin. They're just like, let's just train them. Oh, we're doing training montages, and we're doing training montages again, and it's training montages. Oh, now we got a crime to go stop, and
exactly.
That's it. But it works. It works for what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So, siblings, if you have not seen Police Academy, I think they're on Max, maybe.
And I think I got all 7 of them for like under $20 on Amazon on DVD, if you still have a DVD player.
Yeah, they're out there. These are not hard movies to find, so you can find them out there. So if you want to go check out Police Academy, if you've never seen Police Academy, highly recommend it. I think you'll get a kick out of them.
Yes.
If you like raunchy comedy, there's one in there. If you like something a little bit more slapsticky, you got that too. So give them a watch and let us know what you think on social media at Super Mega Crash. Or you can send us an email at supermegacrash@gmail.com, support the show over on Patreon, or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app, and keep up with any and all things over at pencilplayproductions.com/supermegacrash. Links are in the show notes. Join us again next week, siblings. But until then, don't be a dirtbag and go beyond your limits.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.